I was given 7-day early access to the full release of Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, a first-person open-world RPG game developed by Awaken Realms. It's a dark reimagining of King Arthur, but not in a flashy high fancy way. This world feels sick, it's broken. I've put about 9 hours into the game so far, and I'm still in the early stages of playing the game, but I've played enough to get a clear sense of what the game is trying to go for. What is Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon? It's a world that's being slowly consumed by this thing known as the weirdness, a mysterious fog of pure change that bends and deforms everything it touches. And if that wasn't bad enough, a deadly plague known as the Red Death is spreading across the lands. There's no cure, only temporary treatments. Those infected are taken by red priests to an isolated island asylum where they're subjected to brutal experiments, which is usually just torture. That's actually where our journey begins. Here, we actually get to choose what class we're actually going to go for, and the class selection is very interesting in this game. Instead of picking from a list, you actually answer a few questions about what was happening before this moment. I love how they do this because it feels more natural and a bit more immersive, which I always appreciate. Now, the character creation is fine, not super deep, but it does get the job done. You spend most of the game in first person anyways, so the visuals aren't that big of a deal. That said though, there is a third person mode, which is nice if you prefer it that way. Now, exploration is one of the game's strongest aspects. From the start, you're free to either push forward or slow down and poke around. And if you take your time, you'll find a lot. The opening area on the prison island can be probably beaten within like 15 minutes, but I spent over an hour there, just wandering around, finding optional missable side quests, learning about the world and the lore of the place. There's even a hidden boss tucked away, which was like the coolest thing ever. I also came across these strange massive creatures in the distance. I have no idea if you actually get to fight these creatures, but their presence, it makes it feel very dangerous. Now, I've only played the first area, which I believe is Act 1. I did get to the second act, and from looking at the map, it's pretty huge. And I've only scratched the surface of Act 1, and the best part, it doesn't feel bloated. Now, the combat actually feels really smooth and responsive. You got a triple dash system in place, which gives you some much needed mobility, and the animations feel responsive and clean across the board. I end up going with the Necromancer build, and that has been so much fun. I love summoning a whole bunch of guys and just sitting back with my magic. Dude, it was awesome. Now, my favorite part about the combat is you get to set up 4 custom loadouts and swap between them instantly. That system alone kept the combat from getting stale. How I built mine was a melee bruiser build, a ranged magic loadout, a utility / healing build, and a build just for my summons. Be able to switch between these on the fly without going to the menu made a huge difference. It made combat feel fast paced, and I love that. I can open with my summons, swap to melees if I want to get in close, then switch to magic to stay at range. The only issue with combat I encountered was enemies hit really hard. Now, I was only playing on normal difficulty, and I was definitely getting clapped. And stamina drains very fast, especially when dashing and attacking melee attacks. Personal opinion here, I feel like some tuning here and stuff, but even if no tuning was done, it's still really good balance. Now with any open world RPG, we gotta talk about the terrain. And now the terrain in this game is a blessing and a curse. Now, on one hand, it makes combat feel dynamic. You can use elevation, tight corridors, and terrain to your advantage. On the other hand, it does cause some jank. Now, I will admit this is mostly to me trying to actually jank the enemies out because that's just how I play games and stuff. A few times I got enemies stuck on terrain. I've also made them lose aggro as well to cheese them. That being said though, that same terrain that is breaking the AI, or me breaking the AI in this case, also created some of my favorite moments, and it allowed me to overcome enemies that were just stronger than me. And instead of just be, oh, I outstat you so I can beat you, I was able to outsmart stronger enemies by just using the map and strategy to the way I do combat. It makes the game feel like it's not just about stats, it's about positioning, awareness, and timing, and I really enjoy that. Oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. There's a lot of like skill trees. There are attributes as well, and these are very important to your build. They determine what gear you can equip and help push your build further in one direction. If I get bored of this, I'm not locked in. This game gives you a way to respec later, buy certain items. Now, there are multiple professions in this game. These professions are very helpful and handy. One thing that's cool about each of the gathering professions is you do need to carry the item in your inventory, which adds more of like a realism sense to the game, which I really appreciate. There's mining, which you can find ore around the world, provided you have a pickaxe. You can use it for crafting armor. I didn't really craft armor. This seems more like a late game system, and there's like multiple like upgrades you can do your armor as well. There's fishing, which actually was pretty fun. I like the little mini game you get to play. You can use the fish that you actually end up catching for cooking, which cooking is insane. Heals you over time, and until you get like a healing spell, health management is actually a real thing. And now alchemy is also very important as well, because sometimes you need an instant heal, and that's where potions come in. Quest designs are actually way better than I expected. I kind of thought this game will have fetch this, kill that, do this, do that. But no, this game had some really fun quests. Now, I don't want to spoil too much about the quests. I want you to be able to explore that if you do pick up the game. One of my favorite quests was you were told to destroy this package. Now, most games would give you a prompt to press X to burn it, but this game gets creative with this quest. You must shoot a fire arrow at the package and the package will explode. The cutscenes are amazing, well polished. You can pick sides, and the decisions you actually choose will affect the outcome and change the story. Now, there were a few techno issues in this game. Now, I was running this on the 3080 and the i9 12th gen, so I was able to run the game on ultra settings. Now, I'm not sure if this is a bug or it's intentional. I'm going to just say it's a bug. There was one NPC who was stuck inside the rock. A thing that was kind of annoying throughout the 9 hours was every time the game would autosave, it would lag. But the thing I really want to talk about was there was almost a game-breaking bug I encountered. The Horns of the South questline, and I try not to spoil anything here. But during this cutscene, when the Courtmaster is being shown, the model would just glitch out. FPS would drop very low, and the scene was pretty much unplayable. I think the game crashed like 4 or 5 times while I'm trying to get through this cutscene. And the only way I was able to get through this part is I dropped all the settings to the lowest as possible and skipped the cutscenes. Still, as a reminder, this was a 7-day early access build. Bugs were expected. Balance changes were expected. Once the game does get released on May 23rd, most of this, if not all, should be ironed out by launch. The NPCs I love, they were full of character. My favorite NPC was actually like the zombie guy in the crypt. He was like, yeah, if you want to continue in the crypt, you need to give me 5 gold for maintenance, which obviously like he's not going to do that, but he just woke up and he's like reenacting as him as a human, which I thought was just so funny. Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon completely exceeded my expectations. The atmosphere, the pacing, the mystery, it all works. This isn't just another open world RPG. If they continue this kind of quality for the rest of the game, this could be one of the best open world RPG games I've ever played. I'm absolutely going to keep playing this after launch and follow up with a full review when I finish the game. Once again, shout out to Awaken Realms. Thank you for the opportunity to have a 7-day early access to Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon.